Rosa Navarrete. I am the director of a wonderful play written by Michael J. Mejia called Feliz, an American Play. And today we are doing a panel with y'alls, and the panel is called Feliz, an American Play, surrounding the Latinx experience with actors, directors, and playwrights in the industry. But we're going to expand that because our community in this show is beyond the Latinx experience. And I think it's good to be inclusive and talk about all the other things that are amazing and diverse about theater, and that we should have that more in the forefront. So we're going to bring that forth. As you can see here, these are the amazing, beautiful, talented human beings who are part of Feliz. I'm going to give them about a minute each to introduce themselves. And let's do popcorn style. That way it's easy to know who's going to go next. I'll start it to make that easy. So my name again is Rosa Navarrete. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the director of Feliz. And then as a bonus fun question, what do you find exciting about theater today? So for me, I am actually starting to find exciting the Zoom experience, which at first I was a little scared about. And now that we're in the process of doing the Zoom production, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here. So I find that exciting. I'm gonna hand it over now to Popcorn, to Roberta H. Martinez.
Well, that's my name. And she, her, hers. And I am an actor. I play Consuela. She is the abuelita that comes in with tamales. Need I say more? Golly. I think the fact that people are finding themselves pushed to figure how they're going to use this is one of those exciting things that's happening with what we're doing now. And I will popcorn over. I have to do my mijo to Isaac.
Thank you, Roberta. My name is Isaac Ibarra. I play Eric. Pronouns he, him, whatever. What I find exciting, to touch on what Roberta said, but I find everyone's finding ways to create right now, for better or worse, depending on, your situation in the world, but everyone's finding ways to create, and Zoom is one of them, and everyone's just trying to get out there and do it. I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff that comes out from just people experimenting and wanting to get out there more. So, yeah, I'll pop it over to Cheyenne.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne. I use he, she, and they pronouns. One of the things that's been really great actually about theater as of today is while it can feel so limiting in terms of what we can physically do and kind of figuring out how to work around that, distance has now suddenly become so much less of an issue. I'm actually coming in from New York right now, but it's been great to work with some new and old faces back from my home state of California, and there's been so many projects I wasn't able to be a part of because of this distance, but it's been great through all of this that now I get to be a part of that, and also just learned so much about theater from the other coast, basically, and wasn't really able to have that a lot from before. And I will go ahead and popcorn it over to Chris.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Enriquez. I use he, him pronouns. I am the lighting designer, kind of tech support person for Feliz. I am also super lucky to be one of the production managers for Wayward Voices, a BIPOC initiative for theater and theater makers, which is something I'm super excited about. And so I think that is kind of where my head is right now. That is exciting me about theater. I'm loving sitting in this room with so many amazing artists and being able to create theater with such important stories that are being told right now is probably something that's really keeping me going right now. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I am going to pass it over to Moises.
I'm not even sure if you're a fellow Salvi, but I gotta get that shirt.
I am.
All right. So my name is Moises, he, him pronouns, and I play Augusto. And for me, just the Zoom experience is cool because you learn from everything. You learn from anything and everything that you do. and it's just another twist that'll hopefully somehow pay off in current and future experiences. Um, I've even learned something from my worst performances, because you're always there to learn something, and this is different, and it's different than being on the stage. But my house is my stage right now, and that's kind of cool. And like was mentioned before, it's kind of cool that we're all coming together from different places. And I know when I first heard about this play, and Rosa posted something about it, I was like, damn, man, it sounds like a really cool play. Santa Ana, yeah, that's not gonna happen. But now it is happening. It's such a trip. So I will popcorn over to Cherizade.
Hi, my name is Sherizade. I use pronouns she, her, hers. I am Amanda on Feliz. And as I think it kind of almost the same thing happened with me. Like Moisa said, like I read things about this play happening, and I was like, I'll go see it, but like it's a little far for me to be part of it. And then this happened, and then I'm part of it. And you know, it like theater right now, I love that it's pushing us, like as people, even if you're not into theater as an actor or like background, anything, even that is pushing you to other things, like, you know, plays you have never seen before, you can watch now, like TV things that you thought that it was only TV, now it's a play and you can watch it. That it's opening our minds, and it's pushing us everywhere that, you know, our little house is trying to confine us. We're just going everywhere. So that is exciting to me. And I'm gonna popcorn it to Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Aguilar. I'm an actor and I play Vicky. And I think, and on the same wavelength of what everybody said, the evolution of theater within the last year has been really incredible, bringing everybody together, I think. But to build on that, I think the really cool thing that the last year has shown us is nothing is holding anybody back but ourselves. And like, if you have a story to tell it. You can tell it on your phone, you can tell it on your laptop, you can bring people together from different coasts to tell those stories. So it's like before, where we were waiting to be represented, we can represent ourselves. So, and yeah, I need Chris, I need that shirt. Yeah, like I think it's just really cool to be part of this experience. And when the show originally got canceled last year, you know, it was like, oh man, like how's this going to happen now? And the push that I've seen from, you know, Michael and Miguel and Rosa and everybody involved to continue this going and to tell the story and to make it happen has been so inspirational, and I'm just grateful to be a part. I'm going to popcorn over to Miguel.
Hello, everybody. My name is Miguel Torres Cruz. He, him, his. I play Joe in Feliz. I am also one of the producers and half of Michael Miguel Productions. So what I found exciting about theater, and I think what I've always found exciting about theater, is how it has the power to liberate me and people who have been told who they are. That's what theater did to me. You know, the world told me I was something, and theater became my church. The scripts became my Bible, and I was able to own who I am. And I'm very thankful for that. And I want to give that back to my communities. I want to give that back to the Latinx community. I want to give that back to the LGBTQ community. And that's what I find exciting about theater. It can be liberating. And I am very fortunate to have found a production partner who feels the same way. So I'll let him tell you about that. So I'll popcorn over to my dear friend, Michael J. Mejia.
Hello, hello. My name is Michael J. Mejia. Funny thing, when I'm in drag, my drag name is CC Sasquatch. CC Sasquatch. But when I'm not in drag, my name is Michael J. Mejia. I'm a TV producer and a playwright. my pronouns when I look like this are she, hers, and herses. When I'm out of drag, I am he, him, his. But I answer to anything. So the gay she works for me too. What I find the most exciting about theater right now is I feel like there's a reckoning that is happening within theater at large in the United States, and it's confronting racism and systemic ways that have kept brown people from taking center stage. And with the movement that started last year over the summer with We See You and hashtag We See You, if you don't follow them on Instagram, make sure that you do. Very incredible movement that's happening. But BIPOC people have been relentless in getting their shows produced during COVID. Relentless. They are pushing their stories forward. And as a playwright, as somebody who produces new work, that is the most exciting thing for me. I love new theater because we need more people telling their own stories. And more than anything, BIPOC people producing plays is such an act of revolution. Anybody being able to produce anything is an act of revolution, but for people who have been systemically silenced, being able to stand up and say, this is my story, this is how I want to tell it, that is the most powerful thing to me. I'm shouting out all of them brown people that are producing shows right now. So me and Miguel and Rosa and everybody here, the Wayward Artists included in that.
Oof, it's a panel full of fuego. Translation is fire. Such a strong, amazing community right here. And I've just gotten to know some of these amazing human beings this past week. And I'm just like so thrilled. There's so much opportunity in the talent and in the heart of every single one who is here present today. So thank you all for sharing a little bit about yourselves and what excites you about theater. I want to just offer to whoever is listening out there, we do have someone helping us collecting questions. So if you want to start sending questions through the, I believe there's a question submission form on the website, go ahead and do that whenever. And then Claudia is gonna let me know what those are, and then we will be answering questions for you through the chat. Thank you, Claudia, you're amazing. And thank you, Boca de Oro, for having the Wayward Artists and for having Michael Miguel Productions here today. And congratulations on your 5th year of being like around as a festival. What a success. So congrats, yay. Cool, so I'm gonna start it off with just a few questions. Just to get a little bit, I already feel like there's a vibe in the room, so I don't want to overpower with these questions. So if you want to free flow to something else, please, this is a conversation amongst us that people get to like watch like flies on the walls. So, but I'm really interested like in what kind of arts and media did you consume growing up? And what sparked joy when you watched it, whatever that was? It could be play, theater, video game. What kind of media did you consume and what sparked joy?
Anyone I'm gonna jump. When I was little, the most things that we used to do was walk to school. I'm from Peru, so we used to walk to school, and we used to wake up really early because you have to walk to school. So we'll have breakfast with my grandfather and my dad and my mom, and we used to listen to boleros, you know, in Spanish, like very old, from like the huge turnaround table, but like that rocolas, that's how we used to call it. I don't know how you call it now that it's hipster, but like, and my grandpa used to sing it, and then we used to sing it, and you know, and then when like the whole family used to get together, my sister and I were basically the only ones that knew all those old boleros, because he was like, well, this is what we do every morning. Like, you don't know this song? Like, we will tell our cousins. And that was like one of the things that I always, you know, every time I listen to one like very old bolero, I'm always thinking of my grandfather and like thinking of those breakfasts. And my mom also, she likes movies, but like in not foreign languages, but like in different Latinx countries. So like we used to have like watch Argentinians and like Spanish, Colombians, and I will get the lingo from all of them. So now I moved to Miami when I was 15, and I kind of knew like how everybody talked, just because I was watching old movies, or from their countries. So it made me feel that I was part of their community, although I thought it was my community. But then you get to know that it's like from different places, and you're like, whoa. So yeah, that's how I did it.
So growing up, I watched mainly two things. It was TV, telenovelas, and a lot of comedy on TV, specifically I Love Lucy, and a lot of Will and Grace. So I think that has really had a big effect on me, because the telenovelas, I'm talking like Lazos de Amor, Marimar, Chica, like all of those things that you had on like Telemundo or Univision past like midnight, that my parents let me watch with them, which I'm very thankful for, because it just made me very dramatic. And it also taught me about how to get things that I want in a very extreme fashion. And then it was the duality of that turning over to I Love Lucy, and high comedy like that was fantastic, because then eventually as I got older, I was able to kind of put them together. And then I found the comedy that kind of crossed those two worlds, with like Chespirito or like El Chavo del Ocho and all of that. So that's mainly what always interested me. And of course, like growing up, I always lived and watched like 10 seasons to see one gay kiss between two men. That is when you know you're devoted to some show, So I think all of that put together just created this thing where I just want to see love between all people in very extreme comedic fashions. So that is the type of media that I consumed growing up.
Yeah, I watched, funny enough, I also grew up watching I Love Lucy before going to kindergarten. So I was a big sitcomer, so I loved anything comedy. But I also grew up in a very Christian home. My dad was a pastor from the time I was 5 years old. Hey, and growing up in church, growing up under a cross was I wasn't allowed to go to the movies. I wasn't allowed to go to listen to non-Christian music, and because my dad was a pastor, I believed him when he said that God's always watching. So I very much held those, those rules, very close. And in church, they would do like, kids would do like plays. And so that was kind of where I got to start my outlet. That was my outlet for theater, where I would write church plays and I would act in them. My first role was the devil. I kid you not. I convinced a girl to sell me her soul for a car in like a Price is Right type of sketch. And I remember being at the front of the pulpit at 9 years old with a red face and a suit, very similar, not too different from what I'm wearing right now. And just remember convincing this girl to give me her soul, and I'm being the suave devil, and having all the old ladies in the church, very pious old women, dying of laughter. And I thought, this is an incredible power I have right now. I'm standing in front of the church. I have these pious old women laughing at me as I'm getting this girl to give me her soul. Like, that's amazing. So that's kind of where the bug for theater kind of took me. It was in church.
When I was growing up, yeah. When I was growing up, it was a little bit different. My folks were born in 1912, 1914. And so my dad listened to Sousa marches, and the songs that were popular during the 20s and the 30s were part of what I heard on a regular basis. I didn't hear boleros. I didn't hear any music pretty much in Spanish. And there was no, TV was all in English. TV was all black and white. And there were things like the $1 Million Movie that would come on. So I'd see classics. So I would see Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. And as a kid, I used to do tap dancing. And so that was kind of my entree into what was going on in sort of the 1930 almost rom-coms, where you would have the Ginger Rogers and the Fred Astaire and the Together Not Together, the Together Not Together, and then the funny person that was like the character actor that was on. Yeah, so that was what I grew up watching.
Okay. So I growing up, I like Michael and Miguel, like of course I watched I Love Lucy, Carol Burnett, but what we watched as a family were things like All in the Family, Married with Children, Rosette, those familial, relatable stories, even though like it wasn't you on stage, but you knew somebody was going through what you were going through. Being that middle kid, being the youngest, being maybe the weirdo in school. So like my brothers and I would watch 90s sitcoms like Freaks and Geeks. But what led me to acting from there was Broadway and watching our stories come through, like West Side Story. When Lin-Manuel Miranda came out with In the Heights, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is a play I can be in. This is something that I identify with on a level that other kids couldn't identify with me at. You know, their parents spoke English. My parents, you know, only could speak Spanish growing up. So I came home only speaking Spanish, hiding what I spoke at school and being very cognizant and aware of where my place was. But when I saw our stories broadcasted in a musical way that in rhythms that I identified with, like for Saturday mornings, like it released something in me of there's a community here for you because there's a bunch of other people that are writing these stories. And I just seeing that like evolve and now watching it kind of evolve to this present moment where we're broadcasting our stories live, it has been like, it's just been really amazing.
Go ahead, Moises. Thank you, Jennifer.
Oh, I'm just flashing towards the 80s more than anything. And I just felt like it was a fusion of stuff. And I felt like I watched a lot of 80s sitcoms and a lot of 80s movies, but then there would be Chespirito on, and then there would be maybe some Pedro Infante movies. And then what I remember what just struck me the most, especially when I would watch movies like that, it was just how hardwired we are to whatever's on TV, right? And sometimes it would just strike me that, hey, brown and black people can act too. And I'm drawn to those shows, like the mostly black shows and the few like mostly Latino shows. Like if anybody remembers Que Pasa USA, I was like, damn, whoa, like that's like a whole Latino family. They're funny. And like, oh wow, brown and black people get to act too. And so it just in the simplest way, I didn't get to see that often. And it really struck me that it's a thing and that everybody can do it in some capacity. And I don't know, that was just very inspiring to me. But it was it's odd that I didn't really think about it till later on along those lines. And then hopefully people are having a different experience now in terms of who they see on screen from day to day. And I can imagine younger people hopefully having a little bit more of a blended experience than what I had.
Thank you for that. And I know not everyone got to answer, but there's a lot of us, and I want to make sure we roll over. So thank you all. I guess I want to follow up with, there's so much richness that you all shared from like, media in Peru, which is completely different from here, to humanizing the devil, to having like an outlet. Yeah, that was a great story. I love that. And also the 1920s and 30s and that music and that era that I also appreciated that era as an artist, as a young little artist and filmmaker. And it also brought up for me, like Moises said, later on in my life, I'm like, oh, like what kind of artistry am I upholding for myself, and what do I see as like the supreme type of, the it factor. And I think a lot of my language also became things like, oh, I know I've made it as a writer when my work gets presented at this stage, rather than claiming it as a young brown Latina artist. And then, battling against those kind of things, because essentially I didn't see myself represented. So I always thought that to be successful, I had to match this other thing that I was witnessing 24/7 in TV and on the stages and theater. And thank God for In the Heights, like Jennifer said, and thank God for Hamilton and all these wonderful things that are coming out now. But I'm wondering, I want to know for all of you, like, how do you feel knowing that those were your past experiences? How does it feel, or do you feel like it's very valuable for society in general? So not just our personal novelas and our personal cultural backgrounds, but like, should society have access to these diverse stories, and why, right? And I'm talking about Latinx, BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, people of color, LGBTQIA plus community slash queer and trans, however you identify, and also disabled stories. Have you seen, heard any of these, and why do you feel that they're important for everyone, not just people who fall under those little categories?
I'll go if that's cool. I mean, I think it's important to, I think a lot of the hate and a lot of the, kind of speech that is directed that way comes from either fear or just like not knowing something. Most of the time it's fear, and it's just, how do you like get rid of your fear is you try to understand something more, you try to get more knowledge about a subject. So for me, it's simple as like, why would you not want to try to understand as much information as possible about as many people as possible, so that you may be better suited to just go through life, and so you can stop being fearful of these things or these prejudices that you might have. So I don't know, I think every story is important because everyone, I don't know, every story is important. You got to have all the information. It eliminates the fear.
Well, I think it's one of those things that the stories that are told are universal, right? A good story, a powerful story has universal elements to it. How that is experienced is going to be different depending on all of the experiences that we have, and so the more we know of other stories, or the more others know our stories, the more opportunities we get to see how similar, really, at the core, our experiences are. We lose somebody, we're sad. We love somebody, mostly we're happy, hopefully. I mean, those kinds of things, the things that upset us, just um, the shared experiences reaffirms our shared humanity, right? I think that is part of what happens. Um, and the more we can see of each other, the more we kind of reflect on who we are as we go through our life journey too.
So yes to all of that. And so all of these thoughts are giving me an idea, because I think we touched on it since we began. What we're watching, what we consume as media when we were younger, and then what we think is exciting about the theater. I mentioned how like I would sometimes watch. I remember watching Will and Grace, and I remember specifically watching about 6 seasons of that show, just hoping I could see two men kiss. And I just didn't know why I wanted to see two men kiss. I didn't, I think I was looking for validation, but I was also telling myself, I don't need to see that, but I was glued to that TV. And I needed to see that. Like, I needed to see that. I needed to see two men kissing on TV. I need to see a brown person on TV, because the media has the power to shape the future. I mean, look at my dear friend Michael Mejia. Like, he works in TV. He works for World of Wonder, and RuPaul's Drag Race, the company that it has made drag mainstream. We have the power as artists to change the world. And I think that's also why it's important, because we're also helping liberate and validate a lot of people and their experiences together, which I think echoes a lot of what Roberta said, and Roberta and Isaac mentioned too.
Yeah, I think, by the way, I'm in drag because I have a show after this, and I wouldn't have enough time to put all this on. Where I'm going to be performing in drag for a show, coincidentally also written by me, and also starring Miguel Torres. But we'll give it a shout out later. To say, just to repeat what Isaac and Roberta said and what Miguel said, it comes down to empathy, and as artists tell their stories and they are continuing to put their voices out there, it does shape culture. It does spark a change when somebody's able to see themselves reflected in another person. They felt seen, they feel heard, they feel empowered to tell their own story as well. And I think right now, specifically coming out of the administration that we just came out of, I think there's a hunger for empathy, of people understanding each other and being able to put yourself in another person's shoes, that even though you may not agree with them, you can still understand who they are as a person, echoing what Roberta said. And that's kind of what it boils down to me, or for me, is that it's empathy. And that's an emotion that I think we need more of as a people.
Yeah, I would say that for my family specifically, I come from a large Iranian family that basically moved out here during the revolution, and for a lot of them, of course, theater and just media itself wasn't always accessible, but even more than that, the importance of finding work that may be considered more, in their lens, financially appropriate for their situation. They didn't quite have so much of that access, and it makes me wonder if there would if it would be great to have more Middle Eastern, to put it in that phrase, representation in the media itself, because in that way it could bring so much more empathy for my family, who, in their own circumstances, during the early 2000s, really wanted to, sort of lay low and sort of dim their own light. And through a lot of that, a lot of culture was kind of lost. And I'm sad to say I'm not as attuned to my own culture as I would like to be, but I have seen, through my own family, through my own experiences, through the arts, them able to alternatively kind of empathize even with a career in the arts, and that it is accessible for people with our background to be able to be seen, and for it to be even a livable and fulfilling career. So it kind of, to piggyback off on like empathy, I think it works for, in a great way for even people such as my own family to be able to see that that kind of route is accessible for all of us too, even.
Thank you so much, everyone. That was really beautifully said. And thank you for taking us also there, Cheyenne, on that part of our history, right, in the early 2000s. It was really hard. And I remember how media impacted community there too, Middle Eastern community and different types. And also like assuming and consolidating people into this blob, like they do with, brown people also, but it's like, no, we are different cultures and different, we come from different parts of this, and so thank you for bringing that forth. I'm I want to segue into a question we got from the audience, just because it's connected a little bit to what Cheyenne just said. This comes from a community member. For young people that may be joining us, what advice do you have for them as they develop their theater identity? What kind of positive encouragement can you give to young folks growing up with parents that don't yet support their artistic dreams and expressions?
I got you. Sorry. I wanted to touch on this earlier, but your age doesn't matter. You have something to say. What got me into theater in general was I came from a speech and debate background, where it just kind of found me. And it was the only place in my life where someone said, whatever you want to do, we're going to do it. If you have an original idea that you want to do, you don't have any constraints on you. We're not going to cast you any way you want. You can play whoever you want. If you have an idea, you can do it. And from there, it was just like, oh, okay. Like, I've never felt limited in that way. And I think that freedom is something that I hunger for in life and in theater in general. But you have a story, and if you're willing to put pen to paper, someone's willing to read it. Don't let anybody tell you no. I know your parent, you know, if we're talking about parents, they might not necessarily support artistic endeavors. They'll support you if you're passionate about something. If, you know, if they're good parents, and I'd like to assume everyone has good parents, they'll support you if they see that it's something that you care about. If you have something to say, no matter who it is, someone is going to listen. And don't let casting or anything else get in the way of that. You can do it now. You can do it with a phone. Yeah, sorry, I'm just really passionate because, like I said, I don't have a big theater background or general knowledge about theater. Speech and debate in high school got me where I am today, and it's I suggest it for absolutely every young person who's out there. So yeah.
I want to also, speaking of parents, my dad was very opposed of me being an actress, especially in Peru. He was like, no, that's a morir de hambre. That's why he would say, like, you're not gonna have food to eat. And I was like, okay. So, you know, and that was always our little back and forth. And my mom would always sign me up for theater just to so I could, you know, do what I wanted to do, what I like to do. So then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna move out and I'm gonna do it. And he was sad, of course, but now that I go back to Miami, that's where my parents are, and I visit, my dad was a journalist major and he minored in actually film. Like, he was a director. And I was like, excuse me? What do you mean? And like, that has, like, me breaking out and following my dreams have something in him switched, and now he's like, you know, give me the Zoom links, and I'm like, he posts on Facebook, he tells everybody, like, he's my biggest fan. And I feel sometimes your parents don't know that protecting you, you know, overprotecting you, it's not the best thing, and they don't know how to express it, and they just try to tell you no because that's keeping you safe. So, you know, I don't say like rebel and do it, but like, you know, if you can, if you have the means, go for it. Show them, you know, teach them, tell them, you know, express to them how it's like, always talk to that person, because I believe that communication, you know, whether it's your parent, your friend, like, that is the main thing that drives us. So teach them, you know, as much as they will teach you. That's my advice.
I think I piggybacking on what everybody said, it's, you know, show them what you're passionate about, not only what you're passionate about, but show them your plan. I think kind of like what Isaac said, they're not at your parents, you know, for speaking of parents specifically, they're not acting out of like, no, I don't want you to live your dreams, because they had dreams of their own that they probably were told was, oh my God, that's crazy. Why would you do that? So relate to them in a way of like, what was your dream when you were little? Did you get to achieve it? And in a personal way, when I started to have those conversations with my folks, I found out my parents have lived their dreams. My parents came, you know, from respectively, my mom from Guatemala, my dad from El Salvador. And I remember when I was telling them about acting, they were like, oh, Mika, no, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, you have to be something smart. And I'm like, but we're not smart. Like, your kids are we're jokesters. Like, we, you know, my brothers and I, we take up a room, unfortunately, sometimes. And they were just like, oh no, you can't do that, you can't do that, you know, like Shahrazad's parents said, you know, that's morir de hambre. But I was like, Mama, what did your mom say when you wanted to come from Guatemala at 16? And she's like, oh, ni le dije, or I didn't tell her. I was like, what do you mean you didn't tell her? And she's like, well, no, she would have told me no. So wait a minute, you sacrificed all of that and all that time to tell me no? Mija. And like once we started to have, there are hard conversations and you have to push. But I think one of the lessons that I've learned from a lot of films is understanding comes after confrontation. So, you know, nobody's encouraging you to rebel, but you know, but stand up for what you believe in and show your plan. Show this is how I'm going to do this. This is X, this is Y, this is Z. And, you know, they, like Isaac said, if we all like to assume we have good parents, and once you put it out to them like that, you know, they'll be supportive and you'll be surprised.
So I'm a big Kobe fan. So I'm very much about the Mamba mentality. And I say that because I'm also a psychologist and I work with we're a youth experiencing homelessness. And sometimes you may not have someone's support and you just have to find a way to do it. And I was talking to a young person the other day and she's monolingual Spanish speaking. And she talked about how, no, I have to learn English and then I'm going to take an acting class and then I'm going to do this, that, or the other. And I said, you know what? I can get you plays in Spanish like tomorrow. I can email you or mail you stuff sooner than later. We could work on monologues and start working on them next week if you want. So it's the sheer repetition and practice of something that if you want to embrace it, go ahead and do it. If you want to write your own stuff, go ahead and write your own stuff. If you can pick up something in whatever language, I bet you we can find it. And even if I don't know, I can't speak your language, we'll work on something. We'll find a way to do it. We'll definitely literally find a way to do it. So support is great and ideally you have it, but a lot of people don't. And so, you know, sometimes you got to do a little your own Jedi training sometimes, and it's okay to fly solo. But you know, you go to the court, you could shoot 1,000 shots. It's just your time. And do you really want to shoot those 1,000 shots? Go ahead, be there all day. Nobody's gonna take it away. And you might even have a basketball. You can just work on your form and technique.
Roberta, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to say something?
You know, they kind of said it all. I don't want to just keep going on it. There are more questions.
Okay. I just did want to offer that Moises has a PhD. There's a lot of people here with degrees. So that's to say that if school is on your path, go to school. It's a good thing. Also, trade school is awesome. And a lot of people look down on that. And a lot of people who do trade school make a lot of money. And art requires money. So especially in this country. So my advice to you would be continue like the practice on your own, continue the practice through school if that's what you choose to do, but also be mindful of your sustainability and how you balance your artwork and your wellness, right? So what do you need? Like Jennifer said, have a plan. Don't just say I want to act and then sit down on your couch and be like it's going to happen, someone's going to discover me right now because I'm awesome. No. Isaac said it best first. Do the work, grab your phone, start practicing. No one's there to stop you, right? If you're on TikTok, to me, I've been on TikTok recently as an old lady, and let me tell you, if you're on TikTok, you're a filmmaker, you're a storyteller. Roberta, did you say something?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to take back that and do the homework, not just the work. You know, if you are a writer, I'm a writer. If you are a writer, you got to read. If you want to do acting, yes, go to your classes. Yes, do all of the exercise, write for yourself, but watch with a purpose. You know, watch for fun and watch for maybe once for fun and once with a purpose, right? So how is it that that actor came in the door and all of a sudden your eyes and everybody else's who's watching the movie's eyes went to that person? What was happening there? What happened before that? Do your homework. And that's the fun part. But that's also part of what you have to do. Because if you're just focused on yourself and kind of what your needs are, it's like you're not getting enough nourishment. You need variety, you need the water, you need the air, you need it all to be coming in. And so looking in here and then out there is part of what you have to do.
Yes, Roberta. Oh, you're amazing. So we have another question from an audience member. it says, what would you have done differently? Any advice for young scholars? And are there any regrets?
Specifically, I guess for young scholars, I think there's no such thing as a bad education. People are going to tell you what you want to study is not this. What you want to devote your life to, it's not enough. It's not. Yes, it is. Any education, any, like Isaac said, any story worth writing is worth listening. And like Roberta said, looking, observing, knowing your history, and continuing honoring that, but evolving, not staying in that same place, learning from the past. And I think if anybody, the advice I would give to my younger self, if anybody was like trying to discourage me, I guess that I wish I would have taken, was that every no doesn't mean no forever. It means no now. Like maybe no, you need another class. Maybe no, you need to study more. Maybe no, this isn't the right type of science. Maybe, biological science, chemistry. But it doesn't mean no, give up on your dreams and, do what is expected of you. But yeah, like I would say there's no such thing as a no. It just means maybe not yet. Maybe after another course, maybe a different major. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I would quickly say, not to be too much of a bummer, but of course, but after, the year that we just had, I think it is pretty clear that there isn't really any industry that isn't safe from this microcosm that has occurred from this past year, whether that is financially, whether that is mentally, whether that is, there's so many aspects that so many people are affected in so many different ways that I would hope that that would invigorate people more than ever to sort of take charge of the one life that you have in that aspect. It sounds kind of cliche in that way, but it's there's a lot to it, and to be quite frank, and education in the arts also, I don't think a lot of people also understand, I guess, kind of to go back on that, but and more advice to myself, I don't think a lot of people truly understand how widespread an education, whether that is through schooling or through even starting with speech and debate or what have you, how many different pools that accesses, and not only that, how many other different employers even are starting to recognize that, to at least recognize that we are people that don multiple hats. We are people that have to quickly adapt to multiple situations. We're people that know how to talk to people, which that is a hard thing to do. We don't think about that, but it is. So I think that would be some advice that I would give to my younger self, is to just like take charge of that, because I think we all know that, but we let so many other external things kind of get in the way of that.
Also, I want to say, grab every opportunity. Like when I moved here, I was in school, so it was fine. I had the money of the loans. But then I had to get a job, and I got a lot of jobs, and I didn't like them. But then I heard this person, I don't remember, and he would say like, oh, I would, I was a receptionist, so I would do an accent every single time I pick up the phone. So then I started thinking about, and I used to work at a restaurant and then at a law firm, and then I had so many that I was like, oh, okay. So then I would like maybe not do an accent, but like maybe try, one character, and then I would try another character, and I would just try little things that would make me just, I'm acting, it's not me, this is not me, I'm acting. And just to exercise, the little or the more that I could do on those times that I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, like I wasn't acting, but I was. So just, grab opportunities, make it fun, because it's about having fun. I think so. try to have as much fun as you can. Be creative.
Chris, did you have something to say?
Yeah, so I mean, basically everyone already kind of said that. I think something I kind of started in instrumental music performance, and then went to like choir and band, and somehow that got me into like theater and everything. So I don't think I would have ever done anything differently, because the things that you do have led you to where you are now, you know. So, and I think, kind of like Shirazade said, I used to work in a law firm too, and I worked at Starbucks, and like working at Starbucks has taught me a lot about how to be in theater and talk to people. And so there are so many things that you do as a person that get you to where you are, that even though like sometimes I think I wish I would have started whatever I'm doing in theater sooner, I think whatever got me to that point, I think is super, super, super valuable. And like it helps shape who you are as an artist. And I don't think that I think that even if you're in the position that you don't feel that you're on the right path, I think that whatever you are doing at that point is something that is worth experiencing for sure.
So something that I actually learned from my dear friend Michael was you're never going to be ready for anything. So don't wait to say like, oh, I need to wait until I'm ready to go to do this. You're never gonna be. So just do it. I remember in God knows when was it, Michael? 2009. You said I'm quitting everything and leaving to LA. Like you left. He straight up left, and I was like, wow.
That was in 2014.
Oh. I don't know. Anyway, I'm old. So, but the point of the matter is we're never going to be ready. We're never ready. So just do it. Just do it and learn along the way. You know that. And as far as regrets, you know, I'm definitely that person who goes, oh, I don't want to have any regrets. But I think if I do have one regret in my life, it's not artistic, it's personal, and it's not paying enough attention to my family when I had them. I am an immigrant, and so that has its repercussions, right? Especially the last 4 years. So, I mean, I just want to throw that out there. If you have them close to you, love them, love them, love them, love them, love them. So love them and jump.
Isaac? Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry, I don't have any regrets about schooling, if we're going back to, you know, young scholars out there. I wish I kind of maybe planned financially a little bit better for schooling. I don't think I'm alone in that though. But outside of that, school gave me people that I have in my life to this day, and I'm probably going to have in my life for the rest of my life. I live with one of them, and and she's my everything. I can't I don't have any regrets about the experience that I had in school. But one thing about my school, I loved my education, I loved my program. Sometimes they made me feel like I was lucky to be there. That's not the case. You have so much agency and you have so much power about you and just with yourself that any place is lucky to have you in it. Don't let anybody make you feel like, oh, you know, maybe this is, you know, maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe this, I don't belong, maybe whatever. You have everything within you. To go tie it back to that point I was trying to make earlier, if you got something to say, people are going to listen. So no regrets, but just I wish I took more charge of my own agency when I was just a couple years younger.
Thank you all so much. That was really, to how the young kids say, that was dope. So I appreciate it. I'm still using that. It's a new thing. I used to say Coolio back in my days. So I'm gonna kind of do two final questions ish. The young kids. Yeah, exactly. So the George Floyd movement we talked about it earlier in our conversation about the movement that happened that affected many aspects of our arena in theater and in the arts and the entertainment industry, and it's still affecting today, right? From the uprising last summer that was so needed, and it continues. We can have to continue that battle. Black Lives Matter. We have to keep saying it and be in solidarity with each other and support each other as a community. And that's one of the things that I love about the arts, is that, as you all have just shared, it's so important to be connected and know that we are each other's network, know that we have each other's back, because there are forces out there that'll continue to, like Isaac said, continue to say, we're doing you a favor. and they're going to continue to say that that your voice doesn't matter. So it's a constant battle, and it's self work, but you can do it. And we are here to tell you that and to show you that. So I guess my question, to go back with the uprising from last summer, I was at a conference earlier this year, APAP, the Association of Performing Arts Professionals, and I found that they're also very much in the movement of having affinity groups for LGBTQIA and for Latinx, Chicanx, and et cetera, all the other affinity groups. And there's this movement right now in theater to talk about very openly the shifting in consciousness that's happening, the need that's happening to think about and question, why is it that we're doing Shakespeare for another year? Why don't we do a new play by Roberta Martinez? Why aren't we giving her the space to produce her piece of work, right? So I just want to know, as artists in the field right now, are you starting to feel the impact of these conversations happening in the spaces that you occupy as an artist? And if so, tell us, what are those things that are happening? What's exciting? And also, what do you wish could be pushed a little further? Yeah.
There's one thing that I'm becoming more conscious of with myself, being Mexican unapologetically, and being queer unapologetically. There's something that I've noticed with BIPOC people, and I gotta look up the science behind it, but the short of it is, we don't say when we need help. We don't reach out, because we're afraid of either being called lazy, or being seen as less than, or being seen as trouble, or being seen as somebody who can't do the job that's being asked of them, when in reality everybody asks for help. But brown people, they take it on, and they don't reach out when they're overwhelmed. And if there's anything that I'm working on, is saying, I need help with this. I need somebody to step in and pick up the reins for a little bit. How that translates into theater is, completely lost my train of thought. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It'll come back to you. What you said was rich.
No, just that we need to keep each other, as a network. Because us as brown people understand that about each other, and we're going to be there for each other, just echoing what you're saying. But it takes a little bit of extra effort to recognize and to meet that need. And I think to institute that change, that type of extra effort has to be made. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and just quickly along those lines, it's hard. Actually, Moises, I was going to mention about Mamba mentality, because Michael and I have had have encountered in the past a decade, we've encountered many obstacles and resistance when we wanted to do something our way, or like what we were seeing it, because it was going to resonate in a certain way that was going to be effective to our audience. And I remember many times I would get frustrated, and I didn't come to Mamba mentality because I'm a basketball fan at all. I came to Mamba mentality because Kobe Bryant doesn't think about being, well, dear Kobe Bryant, when he wouldn't think about being Kobe Bryant when he was playing the game, he was thinking about the game, right? It's hard to recognize that you're living your dream when you're dreaming it. And that's the fight I want. This is the fight I signed up for. And once you remember that, it's like, once you remember that this is the fight that you signed up for, it really kind of helps. And so along those lines of remembering to keep that network, because these spaces that we've been working on for a long time are kind of turning and going, okay, we're listening. We're really listening. We don't want you to just be the token. We're listening. What can we do? And that can be scary. That can be scary because we're now leading and we're starting to doubt ourselves. So let's keep each other, let's keep each other up, and remember that we got this. We can do this. So, but Moises, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that was great. Everything really resonated so much about some of the things that I was thinking about. What really came to mind more than anything was you can make your own affinity groups. you have your own affinity groups. The people that you want to work with are your affinity groups. The people that you care about, the people who have similar interests are your affinity groups. And I'm kind of blending my professional world in the sense that I had a very strong response when what happened with George Floyd, because I had been doing a lot of stuff independently and I'd been sending these unsolicited group emails about all kinds of things that fell into that similar content. So to me, to be honest, there was a resentment when it got formalized because I wanted to participate, but then I was like, oh, so much stuff is going on. Oh, the brown and black people are getting upset. Let's start these affinity groups at work. And I just didn't like it. And I wanted to participate, but I didn't like that it became more of a response that became formalized as if people hadn't been doing it before. So it doesn't have to be formal. You can make your own affinity group. You could start your own affinity group. You could walk down the street as your own multicultural brigade. And just if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. I had grad school friends, a Cuban dude, a black dude, a Portuguese dude. We used to call ourselves a multicultural brigade, but we didn't need the university to say that we were a formal affinity group. It's like we just got together, and if we want to work together, we want to work together. So make your own affinity group. Get four of yourselves together, get an iPhone, and film something. Then you guys will be good.
Right on, y'all. Like I said at the top of this session, everyone here is fuego, fire, fire, fire. Thank you so much. So we do have one more question. We have a feedback from a principal from a campus, and they said, "Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience!" Exclamation point. And then the question is, I'm going to add to this question. Tell us your favorite film play that represents you or your peoples. They put gente, but some of us might identify differently too. And then I want to add to that, if you don't want to answer, tell us your favorite film or play that represents somebody like you. Maybe answer, when is the first time you saw yourself represented and how that make you feel?
So I was thinking about that. And aside from the lead actor's accent, which is all wrong, I love the Milagro Beanfield War. My folks, my grandparents lived in Southern Colorado. We would go through New Mexico, and that was among the first movies I saw that represented that area. It didn't represent Mexico. It didn't represent any of South America. It didn't represent the neighborhood I grew up in, which is East LA. It represented this other experience that I almost never see in the movies, and it really touched me.
I don't really have a favorite movie, but something that really, the first time I really saw myself represented was actually in college when a graduating grad student was creating his one-person show, Agárrate. Miguel Torres Cruz, which was the first time I ever saw a Latinx, Latina person producing, writing, acting, everything in something. And so that is something that has always held a really special place in my heart.
Gonna make me cry. Thank you, Chris. I didn't know that. And honestly, I've always, quite frankly, so that was my MFA project, and I've always felt incredibly self-conscious about it. But I think that's a lot of us, right? I think we always feel really self-conscious about the stuff that we put out there. So thank you, Chris. That was very lovely. Just to answer the question, I mean, I think I'm always looking for like a film that's going to like capture like how I feel in a community. And I think I'm always looking for it. But the first one where I felt seen was in Tu Wong Fu, a little Miss Chichi Rodriguez. There's something about how messy she was and how beautiful she became and how she was unapologetically Latina. I was fixated, and to this day I still love her. So
I I had, you know, just growing up, movies were my thing. I had never really been conscious of the fact that I wasn't represented in movies until kind of really someone told me. I had always envisioned myself as the lead person in that whatever movie I was watching, no matter who it was, white, whatever. I was like, that's me. Those qualities are me. I don't even know. So I only became conscious of the fact maybe a couple years ago until someone was like, you know, you haven't been represented in movies, right? And I'm like, oh, no, didn't occur to me. But that's my journey with everything. But the first time that I ever saw somebody like where I was like, I have family in this play was, and like I said, my theater knowledge is very limited. But when I saw Zoot Suit, the film version of Zoot Suit, I was like, I have people in my life like this. There's been other plays that I had read. I was like, they try to capture that thing that I recognize, and they don't really do it. But that was the first time I was like, no, I got cousins in that, or I got a brother in that. And yeah, cool.
There was growing up, I'll be very quick. Growing up, there was because I grew up in a very Christian home, there was a Christian movie that was produced by the organization Victory Outreach, and it was a Christian movie called The Duke of Earl, and it was about warring gangs in the Bay Area. And I remember being obsessed with this movie with the chola makeup and the orale vato, what are you doing? Like, there was something so familiar about the way that they spoke. And yes, it was, you know, ultimately it was about trying to bring people to church and get them to give their lives to God. But there was something familiar. I thought these people were my dad's cousins. They weren't. It was like a whole other movie. And I'm sitting here like, oh, I'm just watching my dad's family. And I just remember feeling so connected to this Jesus movie about cholos trying to kill each other. I was like 5.
Great, y'alls. Okay, well, I think, first of all, the bonding here is so beautiful, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. They have closed the chat. I don't know if that means they stopped recording, but it's all good because that was really, really rich storytelling that just happened. And I'm so grateful to all of you. And if we are still recording, I'm so grateful that everyone stopped by and said hello and sent us their questions and their thoughts. You captured all of it. Yay! So thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. Come and watch Feliz and support Boca de Oro. And check us out. Google us because everyone here is brilliant and they're doing their own things. Awesome.
The discount. The discount.
Oh, the discount of there's a discount for any Boca de Oro participant. You use the word Boco, and you get a 50% off on the play. We'll send it to Wendy so she can send it out to your folks as well.